Yes, I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman, Alfred.
I'm Batman.
I am Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman. I'm vengeance.
Greetings, Bat Family. Welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you, as always, by real fans for real movies. Make sure you visit our website, holybatcast.com, or find us all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast. That's us. We're the only one. If you love the show, you want to help support the show, you can do that on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast and, help keep the show rolling and make our lives just a little bit easier. And so I got to give a couple little shout outs here to a couple new patrons who they have donated, but in some crazy foreign money. So I don't even know how much this is. But first, Marcio Juarez and Mark Joss. Marcio and Mark, I've connected with them multiple times in the past, and super nice that they decided it was time to finally help support the show. So Marcio and Mark, thank you guys. Honestly, it's awesome. You know you don't have to do it, but just know that it is appreciated and it is not taken for granted. And that's true for everybody who is one of our patrons. Like, it really does mean a lot that you would just, throw me a shekel because you appreciate the show. So thank you for that. Excuse me. So Mark and Marcio, welcome to the family, and everybody else, we love you too. We are part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out our shows at rf4rm.com. And then finally, I'm Andy DiGenova. You already know that. You can follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. Now, this episode, we got a couple little news items to talk about. A little bit of Batman, a little bit of Wonder Woman, and a big bombshell from HBOMax. And then, as always, got lots of emails. Lots of stuff you guys want to talk about, and we like to make sure that we answer all your questions, so we're going to do that too. We're not going to do Batman Beyond this episode, not because we don't want to, but because we pushed up the recording, and by pushing it up, I didn't have time to watch the episode. So this time it's on me. Brendan did his homework. I did not do mine, so I get an F. Brendan gets a gold star. And Brendan is with me. He is out there. Jamie sends his regards, guys. We have not forgotten about Jamie. We still miss him. We still love him, but he's still on his break, and I respect that. But he does say hello. But fortunately, I've still got Brendan. Hey, Brendan. How you doing? Happy holidays. It's the holiday season.
Yeah, it's December. It's our favorite time of the year.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. Yeah. Awesome. Did I congratulate you officially on this show yet?
No, because we didn't record last week, and I only made my announcement a couple of days before if we hadn't recorded last weekend. So if people don't know, who don't follow me on social media, it's not just the new house that has been happening the last couple of months. My wife is, as of this week, 20 weeks pregnant.
Woo!
And we also found out today that we're having a boy.
Little Robin! Oh!
Little Robin.
I'm so excited. That's awesome. Yeah. Congratulations, Brendan. And I mean, for 2020 being a bitch of a year, it was good to the lows, and I'm glad. New house, new baby on the way. It's all good.
I mean, I've said this to you privately and everything. I mean, for a year that has been a shit year for everyone. I mean, there's no denying that. You and I have come out of it pretty well. Like, you've gotten engaged and everything, and
yeah.
The weird thing with our situation is the baby was planned. It's the house that wasn't. We'd sort of always said after we did an overseas trip, which ended up being Hawaii this time last year, that 2020 we were going to start trying for a family, and we were, and then the house kind of came along at the right time as well, and yeah, so new house and the bub's due in sort of mid to late April, so it's all happening.
I love it. That's so exciting. No, congratulations to you and Jess. I think that is awesome. New house, baby on the way, 2020. I mean, good. It's nice to see some light with everything that's going on, so I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean, look, if things hadn't have changed, I mean, it'd be Baby and a new Batman movie in 2021. But
Oh yeah, but that was not meant to be.
no. But hey.
Take what we can get.
Yep.
Well, good. No, congratulations. That's awesome. And yeah, very cool. All right. Well, why don't we talk about what's happening around the DC universe? And yeah, like you said, we didn't do an episode last week. Honestly, guys, like if I'm being real, I am so swamped with work and just life that, yeah, like sometimes I'm just done. So it's not for.
Plus, you had two Christmas episodes to record last weekend as well.
That's
so
true. I did do that too.
You were still behind the mic.
It's more just, yeah, I think it's more just like kind of parsing out the shows and trying to get them in where I can. But yeah, I mean, we're also in major crunch time at work, like, because we're driving towards finishing this theme park, and it's intense and I'm tired. And so, yeah, please forgive me if there are little gaps where there aren't new shows. It's just sometimes you got to make those hard calls. The show will go on, but maybe it's just not going to be like clockwork as it has been sometimes in the past. I mean,
it's that time of the year for everyone anyway.
That's
man.
true.
Like, even if your work wasn't crunch time, it's like December's. It's never not a busy month.
Yeah.
So don't stress.
That is a good point too. So the good news of that is there's a couple news items that aren't necessarily new news, but we haven't had a chance to discuss them. And the first one is Batman related, and it's like the coolest Batman news item that I think is so awesome. But like, I'm also kind of heartbroken because I don't know when I'm going to get to enjoy it. And a lot of people shared this with me. So if you guys out there, if you sent this to me, thank you for sending it to me because I love it. They unveiled a new bronze Batman statue right in front of my home movie theater in Burbank, California. Like literally, it's my theater, and it's in Burbank, which is where, DC and Warner Brothers is based, so it makes sense. But yeah, they unveiled this really awesome Batman statue in front of the movie theater. He looks great. It's very Jim Lee inspired. And so, yeah, like looking at the photos, I'm like, oh, it's like literally home. I'm like, oh, there's the restaurants. I knew exactly where it is. I didn't even have to look. I saw the photo and go, oh, yeah, it's right there. It's in front of the AMC. But it's awesome. And it was so cool to see people taking pictures in front of it already. Some fans, like there were pictures of Jim Lee in front of it. But I love it. It looks permanent. I hope it's permanent because, like, how cool. This is like this permanent badass Batman statue right there in Burbank, California, where I live when I'm not in China. So it's worth mentioning. It's badass. I love it. And I can't wait to, whenever I get home, to actually see it in person.
I had no idea it was like your home movie theater.
Yeah, like literally. Like it's right in front of my theater. It couldn't have gotten closer. Yeah, it's crazy.
But no, it is a nice looking statue, and it's one that, one day, hopefully, maybe if I get back over there, it's definitely a photo op.
Oh, totally. I mean, like, yeah, because it would have been very easy for them to put it in Hollywood or to put it in downtown Los Angeles, but like Burbank. I mean, and again, it's where WB is based, so it makes sense. But yeah, like they could not have made the statue more convenient for me if I still lived at home. But yeah, super cool. Great sculpt. I love it. And so, yeah, worth mentioning. I'm sure you guys have seen it, but it's badass. And if anyone deserves a permanent monument in Burbank, it's Batman.
Hell yeah.
We're also getting very close to the release of Wonder Woman 1984, obviously, which is where I'd be going to see it right there at that movie theater if I still lived at home and if COVID wasn't still raging through the United States. But we are getting options to see it very soon. I am, as of this recording, 2 weeks away from it opening in China, which means I am 2 weeks away from seeing Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh,
Yeah.
What's the China release date?
The 18th.
Oh, shit, you get it before me.
Yeah. So it opens on the 18th, but if this makes you feel better, I will be traveling for work on the 18th, and I don't get back till the 19th, so I probably won't see it till the 19th or the 20th.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. The 26th here, so...
Yeah. So
and see, that sort of begs the question too. Once it, I guess with HBO and stuff, we can. It's just kind of like when do we do a podcast on it? Like,
Somewhere after Christmas. I mean, I might record like a spoiler-free reaction or something. But yeah, like, I mean, we'll wait for you to see it. And honestly, then everyone else is going to watch it on Christmas. So at that point, we can do a full-on deep dive. And I will say this.
Hopefully Jamie will jump on board for that one.
Well, that's what I was about to say, actually, is Jamie did say, he goes, dude, I'm still on my break. He goes, but I'd like to be there for Wonder Woman 1984, so save me a seat. And I'm like, of course, obviously.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So it gives him a couple more weeks to chill before he's got to come back. But yeah, so 2 weeks for me. Actually, it was like 2 weeks in a day because, again, I'm not going to get to see it opening night because where I'm traveling it's a pretty, I don't know, I don't want to call it a small town, but it's not Beijing. It's a smaller town in China. So there isn't a movie theater near my hotel that I am aware of. And also I'll be working, so I'll be exhausted. So I will see it when I get back to Beijing, either Saturday or Sunday. But still, it's coming close and I can't wait. But because it is coming close, we found out that we found out the runtime in that it is 2 hours and 31 minutes. Which I guess caused a little bit of a stir online, which is ridiculous to me. But like, what's funny is all I saw were people complaining about the runtime. I didn't actually see anyone complaining about the runtime.
I didn't see any of that. It's only like 10 minutes longer than the first one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So from what I read, it was first one was 2:21.
Yeah.
This is 2:31, and there'd be like what? The best part of 6-7 minutes of credits, like it's not that long.
So anyway, from what I saw like on Twitter and online, like the implication is that there were people out there being like, why does it have to be so long? But everyone I follow was literally like, great, 2.5 hours, perfect, I'm in, because that's how I feel. Like, yeah, 2.5 hours for a movie I can't wait for more Wonder Woman versus Cheetah. Like, hell yeah, 2.5 hours, I'm down. So yeah, I didn't think it was all that newsworthy, but like anything comic book movie related, it always has to cause a little bit of drama. But yeah, I mean, to me, like you said, the first one's 2:20, which I adore. So 2:30, hell yeah, count me in.
Yeah, exactly. And I say that as someone who I haven't like complained, but I am someone of the opinion that it's just like, if they're going to keep because movies have in the last 10 years, like they've gotten longer. And I've been saying for like maybe the last 5, 6, 7 years, I'm just like, they need to bring back interval. Like, I can remember this, interval still being a thing when I was a kid, or intermission, depending on what part of the world you're in.
I was going to say, I'm like, I assume you mean intermission, but okay.
Yeah, same thing. Because I mean, even me, like, and I'm not someone who gets a lot of movie snacks and drinks and stuff when I go to the cinema, but you're sitting still for 3 hours sometimes. It's like, you just need to go and have a pee or whatever, or, it's, I don't know. I'm just that way where it's like, I guess with what we're going to be talking about very soon, long movies might not be a problem anymore in a cinema. But yeah, 2.5 hours, that's fine. Anything sort of, when you get to 2:45, 3, you can just, that sometimes just gets me a bit, because the other thing is too, when you go to the movie, that's, by the time you get to the theater, see the movie, you got your trailers, see the movie, get home and stuff like that's a big chunk of time gone. That can be 5 hours sometimes. So, and, sometimes you just don't have that time to commit to go and see a movie. Whereas, if it's a nice little hour and a half to two and a bit hours, it's just a little bit more convenient to do things. But 2.5 hours of Gala's Wonder Woman, you're not going to get a complaint from me. Right.
Well, and that's just it. Is like, I mean, I kind of agree. Like, if it's a movie that I'm interested in, but like not like frothing at the mouth for, if I hear it's 3 hours, I'm like, oh, okay. Like that's why I never watched The Irishman. Is because I heard it was so long, and I was like, I'm not that interested for it to be that long. But if it's a superhero movie or a Middle Earth movie, I will watch it as long as you will give it to me. So it just depends on my interest level. So for this, yeah, to me that seems solid as hell. I'm all for it. Or like, same thing with like Dark Knight Rises. Those are really long too. Great. I'm in no rush. I'm settling for the long haul there.
No, you make a fair point with The Irishman though, but the advantage of it being a Netflix movie is you could do it over 2 nights.
Yeah, which
is what I did. Yeah, did it over 2 nights.
Got it. So, all right, well that's that. And then the other piece is because it is premiering on HBO Max along with in theaters, Warner and HBO Max, they're really positioning themselves for this bump that they're expecting, which we'll get into more in just a second. But first thing is they're no longer allowing the 7-day free trial, which...
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
Yeah, which, I mean, can't really blame them, right?
Yeah, I was thinking that because I'm like, when this was announced, a fortnight ago or so with Wonder Woman, I'm like, won't people just jump on and then, like, piss off?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they did eliminate that, which again, hard to blame them. They're putting their currently their most valuable asset on the streaming service. They're not going to let you sign up for a free trial, watch it, and peace out. Like, sorry, like you can pay the $15. Again, that's as much as a movie ticket. It's worth it. But they're also upgrading the technology. So a little statement here from Patty Jenkins. Here's what she said. This came on Twitter. She said, excited to announce that Wonder Woman 1984 will be the first film on HBO Max available in 4K Ultra HD, HDR10, Dolby Vision, and Dolby Atmos. Can't wait. In theaters on December 25th and exclusively streaming in the US on HBO Max. Please find the biggest and highest quality screen you can. So this is the first film in 4K and Dolby Atmos, and so it's going to be the best possible picture for Wonder Woman 1984. So for those people who are going to be watching it on HBO Max, you're going to be able to see it as beautifully as possible at home. And then Patty is still saying, find the biggest and highest quality screen you can, as long as it's safe. So I know that there had been, I love movies. I love HD, but I'm not one of those movie fans who gets too up in arms about 4K or not 4K. I still didn't have a 4K TV. I'm sure I'll get one eventually, but I don't get too caught up in a lot of that. But I know that there are people who do, and I remember when HBO Max...
Jamie loves his 4K stuff, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and it was the same thing when they started re-releasing every movie on 4K and everybody starts rebuying all their favorite movies. That's why I didn't jump in, is I was like, man, I don't want to start rebuying everything again. So that was really the big reason I didn't. But I know that when HBO Max launched, I think that I did hear that of will it have 4K capability? And now the answer is yeah, they're upgrading it. It will, and Wonder Woman 1984 will be the first one available, which makes perfect sense. And then they're set up for the future as to whatever else they might want to release on HBO Max.
Yeah, I don't know why they'd do that, but yeah, what's next?
I don't know. Well, speaking of HBO Max, there was another thing, and it's not what you think it is, because it's something I also forgot to mention.
Okay.
But it is HBO Max. So Titans Season 3 is coming.
Yes.
And apparently Season 4 has already been greenlit, which, great, bring it on.
Oh, awesome.
But they had designed and built a Starfire costume for the finale of Season 1. And then when they changed the finale of Season 1, we never got it. And I was like, what the heck, man? That sucks. So now they've gone back and they redesigned it. They didn't just use what they had decided not to use a couple of years ago. They built a new a Starfire costume, and they did a big reveal on Twitter for it. So we got a new look for how Starfire is going to look. And have you seen it?
I did see it, yes.
And what did you think?
Looks like Starfire to me.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think she looks great.
The only question I did have, and forgive me again, it's just I haven't been able to dive as deep into things as I normally would. The photo they released, is that just... What's the actress's name again?
Anna
Shit, I'm
Diop.
drawing a blank.
Anna,
Yeah, is this
Anna Diop.
that's just sort of her in a costume test, isn't it?
Yes.
Because I was like, why would they give her a costume but take away her red hair? But then I was just looking at it, I'm like, that's got to be like a costume test, I would assume.
Right. That's true. Yes. But honestly, it looks better than the leaked photos we saw of the original costume. I don't know what it's made of.
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. That looked good too, but this looks even better because they gave him an opportunity to go back and revisit and go, hey, let's really commit to this. So I love the costume. It's definitely Starfire, but it's also very somehow modern and real. And I don't know, like I think they found a perfect balance of me going, yeah, that's the costume from the comics, but still being something that works in live action. Like, I don't know. Titans, for me, like, their costume work has been stellar since the beginning. You know, that Robin costume, obviously, we all raved about it. Hawk and Dove looked awesome. The Red Hood, which I don't think we ever got around to talking about on this show, they released pictures of the Red Hood relatively recently, and he looks perfect. So, like, their costuming team is
straight out of the comics.
Yeah, and Nightwing, obviously.
Yep. No, you're right.
So, yeah, it's just one more, like, Starfire, hell yeah, bring it on. I just hope that with the new season, they really, you know, they embrace the superhero aspect a little bit more, you know, stop breaking up the Titans and bring them together a little more, you know?
Yeah, it'd be nice to get that real team atmosphere going on soon.
Right, exactly. But yeah, that was really cool, and I realized we hadn't mentioned it, so I figured it was worth bringing up, as well as, yeah, Red Hood, because he looks awesome too. But HBO Max, man, like they're changing the game. They got, you know, they're getting ready for Titans. They're premiering Wonder Woman 1984. And when, you know, we talked recently about Wonder Woman 1984, and, you know, we were like, what does this mean? And it seemed like maybe it was going to be a one-off thing because, you know, they'd been sitting on this movie for a while, and it was time to let people finally see it. But earlier this morning, or maybe while I slept, I don't know when this actually came out.
It was, yeah, I think from what I can remember this morning, it was probably around, I want to say 5, 6-ish a.m. my time. So, yeah, a bit too early for you. Would have been around sort of that 3, 4 a.m.
Yeah. So it's funny because I woke up and the first tweet I saw was from one of our listeners that was like, oh, I can't wait to hear you guys talk about the HBO Max news. And I was like, wait, what? What HBO Max news? What happened? So then I had to go find that. But I appreciate when people do that because I sleep. What?
I bet you didn't have to look very hard.
Not very hard. So, yes, this is a big thing in it. It definitely affects DC content, but a lot of content. So, Warner Brothers has officially announced that they are going to, what they're doing with Wonder Woman 1984, which is releasing the movie simultaneously on HBO Max and in theaters. They are going to employ that same strategy for the next year, for all of 2021, for their entire slate. So for the next 12 months, they're following the very same thing that they're doing with Wonder Woman 1984, which is it premieres theaters and HBO Max, but it's on HBO Max for only a month, and then it goes away. Then it's only in theaters, and then it essentially goes, you know, does the normal timeline of once it's done in theaters, then it comes home and all that stuff. So here are the movies that this affects. So the slate for 2021: Mortal Kombat, which, God, I forgot they were making that, and I didn't even know they actually got around to making it. That was one of those where I was like, they always said they were going to make another Mortal Kombat, but I didn't know they were doing it. Anyway, The Little Things, Tom and Jerry, The Many Saints of Newark, Reminisce, Godzilla vs. Kong, The Conjuring 3, which is The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, In the Heights, Space Jam: A New Legacy, The Suicide Squad, Dune, Elvis, King Richard, Matrix 4, Judas and the Black Messiah, Malignant, which is a James Wan horror movie, and Those Who Wish Me Dead. So the biggies here, obviously, are, for me, Tom and Jerry. I think it looks pretty good. Godzilla vs. Kong, The Conjuring, In the Heights, Space Jam, The Suicide Squad, and Dune, and Matrix 4. Those are kind of the biggies there. But they did say that this is only for a year. And let me just find, there is a good quote here from Ann Sarnoff, who is the president of Warner Brothers. She said this is a unique one-year plan. She said, we're living in an unprecedented time that calls for creative solutions, including this new initiative for Warner Brothers Pictures Group. No one wants films back on the big screen more than we do. We know new content is the lifeblood of theatrical exhibition, but we have to balance this with the reality that most theaters in the U.S. will likely operate at reduced capacity throughout 2021. With this unique one-year plan, we can support our partners in exhibition with a steady pipeline of world-class films, while also giving moviegoers who may not have access to theaters or aren't quite ready to go back to the movies the chance to see our amazing 2021 films. We see it as a win-win for film lovers and exhibitors, and we're extremely grateful to our filmmaking partners for working with us on this innovative response to these circumstances. And so in order to kind of soften the blow to movie theaters, they are giving a larger cut of ticket sales to theaters. So as much as 60% is going to the theaters and not the studio.
Oh, that's fair enough, I think.
Yep. So studio chief Toby Emmerich also talked about this and said that the solution came about when they were looking at plans for Wonder Woman 1984, and he said, we thought it could be a win-win and give the consumers the best choice. Unfortunately, the U.S. has been one of the most hobbled markets in terms of theatrical. Outside the U.S., in places like China, South Korea, Japan, parts of Western Europe, our films will only be available in theaters, and we think those markets can perform better. And then Warner Media CEO Jason Kilar says, after considering all available options and the projected slate of moviegoing through 2021, we came to the conclusion that this was the best way for Warner Media's motion picture business to navigate the next 12 months. More importantly, we are planning to bring consumers 17 remarkable movies throughout the year, giving them the choice and the power to decide how they want to enjoy these films. Our content is extremely valuable unless it's sitting on a shelf not being seen by anyone. We believe this approach serves our fans, supports exhibitors and filmmakers, and enhances the HBOMax experience, creating value for all. Well, there you have it. Brendan, thoughts, feelings, reactions?
The last statement there you were saying, who was that who said that?
That was Jason Kilar, the CEO of Warner Media.
I don't disagree with anything he said, because a lot of what he said kind of echoes what we were saying a fortnight ago with the Wonder Woman news, is that the movies aren't making money for anyone sitting on a shelf. You know, like, no one's getting anything from those movies. They're just not. Like, this is, obviously it's a huge deal. Like, there's no underestimating how much of a massive deal this is, and a game changer. And I mean, the repercussions for this will last, I think, much more than a year. It's going to be interesting to see what other studios do, like particularly Disney, I guess, with them having Disney Plus and it being a worldwide service. Because I think we might have even discussed it last time. Like, the Milan experiment, I don't think really worked.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the Soul is coming to Disney Plus at the same time as Wonder Woman. You know, and it's no extra charge. That's going to be the biggest thing for me, is to see what other studios do. Well, actually, sorry, that's going to be the most interesting thing. To see what other studios do. The biggest thing for me, and again, this is still sort of echoing what we said a fortnight ago, is, I mean, there's no denying that piracy is going to be a much bigger issue, because previously I would argue that the piracy didn't so much affect the theatrical release of movies, because you weren't getting a 4K HD Dolby Atmos whatever version of the film hitting the internet the same day. You'd be getting like a shitty handheld camera job, you know. So I mean, that's definitely going to come into play, I think, more than usual.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a position where, I mean, it's no secret that if I can't legally acquire something to watch that we either need to discuss for the podcast or, for fear of spoilers online, we've had the discussion before, so I won't go into it again fully. I will do what I need to do to access it, to watch it. I just will. That's the reality. It's like, Titans and all the DC, what was the DC Universe shows previously, because they just weren't available here. And I'm in a position where at the moment it's not going to change too much for me personally. Like, Wonder Woman's coming out at the cinema on Boxing Day. All the movies that you discussed before, that the 17 that they're releasing this year, next year in 2021. If things stay the way that they are, I'll be able to go see them in the cinema. That's not a problem to me. The thing's going to be, and the temptation is definitely going to be there, like just using Wonder Woman as an example. I'll be going to see it first thing in the morning on Boxing Day. Hopefully I absolutely love it. And knowing that I could watch it again just with the few taps of a keyboard, that's going to be a pretty big temptation.
Mm-hmm.
I know personally that I have the self-control, particularly for a Wonder Woman or the Suicide Squad and Conjuring, stuff like that. But just using Wonder Woman and Suicide Squad as an example, like, they're movies that I would usually see anywhere from 4 to 6 times in the theater. I would still want to do that. But for something like, I don't know, one of the smaller ones, or even maybe some of the bigger ones come April next year, once Jess has the baby and everything, I just physically might not be able to go to the theater as much as I'd like to, or as much as I used to, and I've thought about it. I mean, I'll have access to these movies, yes, through nefarious means, but I'll have access to them. But I think if the situation were to present itself where, I don't know what, I'll just say Kong versus Godzilla out there as an example, of one that I do want to see on the big screen. I was planning to see on the big screen. Was it this year it was meant to come out, but for argument's sake, if I just physically can't do it, I would jump on my Event Cinemas app on my phone. I would buy a ticket, but just not go to the cinema. Because, I mean, I'm like everyone. I don't want to see cinema die.
Mm-hmm.
And I still want to support the cinema. But if my life just won't allow me to get there, and I have the ability to access it where I can watch it at home, and I have to utilize that, I'm going to utilize it, but I am still going to do the right thing and pay my $10, $12 or whatever to the cinema, as for what I'd pay if I were to go there. So that's kind of my take on it. It's not going to change things for me theatrically for the movies that I am going to go and see, but it's just going to give me an option to watch some at home. But I'm still, like I said, I'm still going to support the industry because they definitely deserve it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think, like, speaking to just the decision that they made, I totally get it. I mean, and like you said, similar to what we discussed about with the decision for Wonder Woman 1984, is they're reading the tea leaves, and if the choice is just wait and wait and wait until things get quote unquote back to normal, you don't know how long that's going to be, and you don't know how long you're waiting, and they're just bleeding money, and they've got assets sitting there that they can't use and they can't take advantage of. And so they waited as long as they could. This has been going on almost a year, where they had to go, well, what are our other options? And I think that this is what they came to. And they certainly came to it with Wonder Woman 1984. And like I said, I think that made perfect sense. And I think this makes sense, especially because, as they said, 2021, the movie, especially in the United States, the movie-going experience isn't going to rebound in 2021. Like, all projections show that that's not happening. Right now, things are getting worse in the United States. And so, movie theaters, the ones that are open, people aren't going. And then there's a huge group that aren't even open yet. So what do you do? You have to find a way for people to enjoy your content. You mentioned, we talked about it a little bit in the last one, was the Mulan experiment, and it seems like that didn't really work out for Disney Plus. Didn't seem like it was worth it. But on the other side of the coin, Warner Brothers, of all people, had their own experiment with Tenet, where they said,
Tenet, yeah, I was thinking that too.
Yeah, they're like, we've got this big, huge blockbuster sci-fi movie from Christopher Nolan, one of the most respected filmmakers in existence, and we're making it theatrical only because we support theaters and we want you to come back to the theaters. And guess what? They're going to lose millions of dollars because of it. They tried. They tried. And they kept nudging it back as well, trying to give it the best possible window. But even when it finally came out, it didn't do it because, especially North America, wasn't ready for it yet. So they had to make a tough decision here. And I think this is a win for the studio, because the studio is going to be able to take advantage of their assets, of these movies that they've invested in, because they're either going to make money from the people who are willing to go to the theater, or they're going to make money for the people who are going to pay for subscriptions to HBO Max. And as we talked about in the last one, HBO Max didn't have a huge launch. This is going to make that happen. All of a sudden, this makes HBO Max a must-have. The way Netflix has been and the way Disney Plus has been, this move makes HBO Max now like the best deal in town. Because for the price of one person's one movie ticket per month, you not only get all the great content that is already there in TV shows and movies and everything else, now you're also going to get first-run movies as it is. Like, you can't pass that deal up. So this is going to be a huge boon for HBO Max. And it's also a win for consumers, for viewers. For the people who love going to the theater and the theaters around them are open and safe, they can still go to the movie theater. For people who don't even have that option, they can watch it on HBO Max. And so these people are going to get new content as well. I think the only people who are really going to suffer from this are movie theaters. But here's the thing that nobody wants to say, because I've seen quite a bit of people being like, well, Warner Brothers just killed movie theaters. No, Warner Brothers didn't kill movie theaters. Do you know what killed movie theaters? COVID-19 killed movie theaters.
Yep, exactly.
Warner Brothers tried, they held off longer than Disney or Universal. Disney immediately jumped to streaming with Onward, with Mulan, with what Atticus Finch? No, what was that other one? Atticus.
Yeah, no, it was that. Yeah, another one you mean.
Whatever the hell that thing was. I didn't see it. But they immediately pushed that to HBO Max. They did it with Mulan. They're doing it with Soul. Disney was quick to do that. Universal did it with Trolls. I guess, okay, so WB did do it with Scoop. So to be fair, they did that too. But they really tried to hold off. They tried to force Tenet into theaters. They kept delaying Wonder Woman 1984. They tried. Guess what? It's not getting better. At a certain point, you got to face the reality of that. So it certainly sucks for the movie theaters, but the movie theaters are already hurting, and that is not Warner Brothers' fault. That is COVID-19's fault. And
looking at it from the point of view of a country where they are open, like movie theaters have been open here since July, August. The few times that I've gone, it's still really quiet because there's nothing being released. Like, there's the odd, what was the Freaky that I went and saw the other week? I would have gone and seen that anyway, but it's not a tentpole movie that's going to bring crowds in. Like, Wonder Woman is going to be the first movie released since Tenet, but even then, Tenet was still early days for cinemas reopening here, and not a lot of people were going. Whereas this is going to be the game changer, and it's what's going to get people back in the cinemas here in Australia. I guarantee it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think that's totally true. So, it sucks, but yeah, like that. What else were they going to do? And I mean, and kind of here's the other thing is because they've made this decision and they, it's bold. Disney's not going to be able to get away with trying to do another Mulan and charging $30. Like that's just not going to happen. Like at this point, the gauntlet's been thrown by this decision, and now everyone kind of has to follow suit because with this coming out and Disney's like, well, now you can watch, I don't even know, whatever the next big movie is, the live action remake of
they haven't,
whatever.
I'm amazed they haven't said anything about Black Widow yet.
Yeah,
it's been two and a bit weeks since Warner Brothers made the announcement with Wonder Woman. They've got kind of their equivalent to match Wonder Woman. There's been nothing.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great example too. It's like, yeah, if they were to now say, oh well, we're gonna do Black Widow, but it's gonna be $30, everyone's gonna go, huh? Really? WB gave us Wonder Woman for free. You're gonna try and charge us $30 for Black Widow? Come on. So, anyway, I totally understand it, but yeah, like it's my biggest concern is what happens next, what happens next year when things do get better, whenever that happens. Like can you put the toothpaste back in the tube? I don't think you can. I appreciate what they're saying is this will only be for a year. I mean, and maybe that is the case. Maybe 2022 now it's theatrical only, and you go back to the way things were because they don't have to put it on HBO Max. You're probably going to bleed some subscribers when you're not getting first run content anymore, but it's probably worth it. You'll make up for it once if theaters are back in business. Yeah.
They're the people that'll go back to the cinema.
Yeah,
if they really want to see it.
I also don't want to lose the theatrical experience. I love the theatrical experience. It's one of my favorite things. But yeah, to their point and to our point is nobody knows how long it's going to take for the theatrical experience to be viable again. And it could be another year. So they are preparing for that, and I can't blame them.
I mean, the other thing that we touched on too with the Wonder Woman announcement a couple of weeks ago is if every studio just keeps pushing back, and they've got movies from 2020 and 2021 all sitting there ready to go, but then they've still got new movies being made to be released in 2022. Say by, mid to late 2021, things do get back to, normal, whatever that may be. Then you've got all these studios with movies. They're just going to flood the market, which also has a negative effect as well. Because if you've got a tentpole movie coming out every fortnight, I mean, yeah, that sounds great on one level, but you're spreading the market way too thin. And then you've also got people that will be more choosy. Instead of going to the cinemas, say, once every 2 to 3 months, they might have to skip a few movies simply because they just don't have the time or the money to go to the movies every other week because Ghostbusters has come out and James Bond has come out and Black Widow's come out. Like you can't flood the market either. That's going to have a negative effect as well.
Yeah, totally. And they have a business to run. They have to still keep revenue streaming for their business. And yeah, the option to just sit around for a year and not release anything isn't a good business decision. Would you make that decision?
No. This stuff has to be seen, and yes, they might not make as much money as they were, but they need to make something. And
yes.
At the moment, then they're making nothing, which means they can't make any new content.
Right.
I mean, they're not at that stage yet, but if this were to keep going for another year and a half, heaven forbid 2 years, the studios would be effed. They've got nothing. They've got no income to make new product.
Right. Well, and along those lines, like, movie theaters are hurting. They're hurting bad, and I hate that. I wish they weren't. I love them. I'm happy to support them. I'm happy to give them way too much money for a bucket of popcorn. Like, happy to, but it's just the reality of what's happening now. But like, if the studios don't make moves like this, what are we saying? Are we saying, oh, they should go down with the theaters then? Like, instead of just losing theaters, we should lose studios too, out of principle? They have to make money somehow to stay viable, to keep creating more content that we love, that we want to see. Like, waiting for theaters to be viable again, that is not an answer. You know? One of my bosses said, hope is not a strategy.
And I don't know if this is just me being, you know, a sort of a glass half full kind of person, but I just don't, I can't see the theater experience ever completely dying and going away. Like, I just can't. Like, even if it does take several years, like, say, you know, a cinema chain opens or whatever, like, I do think they will come back, you know, in some way, shape or form. And I know this is sort of, it's not the best analogy, but it's all I can think of at the moment. Like, I worked in music retail for 10 years. And, you know, when I first started in music retail, well, actually it was longer than 10 years, but when I first started in 2004, like, obviously it was before your streaming and everything came in. CDs were, you know, CDs were it. Like, CDs are how you bought your music. Like, we would sell thousands of dollars worth of CDs on a weekly basis. Mm-hmm. Streaming happened, iTunes, that sort of stuff. That started to back off, and it got worse and worse and worse and worse. Now, I mean, I don't work in there anymore, but I still have a lot of friends that do. They make more money selling vinyl, which wasn't even an option to buy vinyl when I first started working in music retail. Like, no one was making vinyl anymore. They make more money from vinyl on a weekly basis than they do selling CDs. So, you know, if you'd have told me 15 years ago that vinyl was going to make the comeback that it has, I'd have been like, are you fucking kidding me? Really? Like, I don't... But it has, you know? Like, some things will, I don't think, ever go out of fashion, and I just can't see that happening to theaters. I think there will always be some form of a theatrical experience. I mean, COVID, look at drive-ins in America. Like, drive-ins have made a massive comeback because they've had to. Drive-ins, I'm 36 years old. I have never been to a drive-in in my life. Because by the time, you know, I was old enough to go to movies and everything, they were gone. Mm-hmm. You know, there wasn't one in my town to go to. But now, and I mean, even here in Australia to a degree, drive-ins are really making a comeback. So it's not going to completely die. It might be very different for a couple of years, like, and the landscape might be a bit shit, and it might not be what we want. But I think, you know, give it time. We have to persevere. Studios have to change, and Warner Brothers have really taken that big step, and I applaud them for doing it. But I do honestly believe the day will come when we will be able to sit in a theater again, and it will be safe, and we can have the experience with our family and friends, or by yourself, however you like going to the movies, that we, you know, on that big silver screen. It will always be there in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I want to think so too, and I hope so too, because yeah, like, when the time comes, when I go back to the States, and whatever the movie is, you know, in theory, I should be back in the States for the Suicide Squad. If there's a theater near me that is open and safe with that Batman statue, I will choose to go pay for that as opposed to watching it on HBOMax. I just will. I want that experience. I love that experience. And I think a lot of other people do too. So I think that will happen. And again, if in a year, you know, movie theaters are back open and COVID has run its course, all it takes is Warner Brothers to go, oh, you know, the Batman is theatrical only. It's not coming to HBO Max. You want to see the new Batman movie? You're going to go to theaters. And guess what? People will go to theaters.
They will. And I mean, if you just say, for example, with the Suicide Squad, if there was a cinema open in your area but you didn't feel safe enough to go, do what I suggested before. Like, jump on your app, buy a ticket, but still watch it on HBO Max. Like, you've got the option there to still support the theaters if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can still buy a ticket. It doesn't mean you have to actually go and put your bum on the seat if you don't feel safe to do so.
Yeah. All right.
Very interesting times.
Definitely. All right. Well, there you have it. Again, it's a game changer. I mean, again, I don't blame them. I think it makes sense. I think it's a good move. I think that it's good for them. It's going to be able to get them the most out of their films, and it's good for consumers because consumers are going to have things that they can watch for the next year while we continue dealing with COVID. And hopefully COVID will become a thing of the past sometime sooner than later, and then we'll see about going back to movie theaters. But for now, I understand what they're doing. I support it. I think it's probably the best option. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how other studios react to it.
That's going to be the interesting thing.
But again, it's definitely going to make HBOMax a contender the way it hasn't been up till now because of this. So good on them, I guess. All right. Well, there you go. Cool. More on that as it develops. But that's kind of all the news that's fit to print right now. But don't you worry. You guys have lots to say. So let's check in with you folks as we crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Darren, what is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
All right, first email here is from Mike Ortego. It says, "Hey, Holy BatCast family. I only recently discovered your podcast, but it's already becoming my favorite. Was just wondering, how do you feel about Jason Todd Red Hood being added to the animated series canon by way of the comic book Batman: The Adventures Continue? Personally, I think it's fun and neat to see Jason Todd / Red Hood along with Azrael and Deathstroke in this continuity. However, the Red Hood stuff seems shoehorned in. I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts. God bless. Keep up the good work. Mike in Louisiana." Mike, thank you for the message. What do you think, Brendan? I mean, did you finally catch up on The Adventures Continue?
I did, but now I'm way behind again.
Okay.
So I think I've kind of read up to the end of the Red Hood Deathstroke stuff. I don't think I've got Azrael yet. That doesn't sound familiar. But I haven't disliked the stuff that I have read so far. It certainly does feel different reading those characters in that world. And, you know, the way they sort of brought in Jason Todd was interesting. But, I mean, yeah, like, it's their spin on it. And I love that world in animation and comics. So, like I said, I am way behind, so I can't comment 100%. But the stuff that I've read, I've quite liked.
Yeah, I mean, I think that overall it's pretty good. I've never been a huge Red Hood fan anyway, so I don't, I wasn't like, yeah, Red Hood. But I think that they did it as well as they could. I see why you would say it feels a little shoehorned in because, it's not that long of time between Dick Grayson and Tim Drake, so they had to be a little creative with how quickly Jason Todd was Robin and became Red Hood, but I think they did it as well as they could, and I like that they gave a new spin on that origin, and so yeah, I enjoyed it too. I thought it was neat. And then same thing, I like that they brought in Deathstroke and Azrael. Yeah, I like that they're bringing in some other elements of the Bat mythos into the animated series continuity, so I enjoyed it. All right, next message is from our pal Carrie Vanderberg, but this, it's a little not Batman related, but it's fun, so I'm going to read it anyway. It says, "Hey, Andy, Brendan, and Jamie, I hope you're doing well. Congratulations to Andy on his engagement. I wanted to share some thoughts on my first ever Scare-a-thon." So if you guys remember, before Halloween season, Carrie wrote in being like, hey, I want to do a scare-a-thon this year. What are some recommendations? And we talked a little bit about it. So this is his little debrief. So here's what he said. He said, I watched a total of 54 movies, including The Haunting of Bly Manor and Lovecraft Country, many of which I had never seen before, and I came to the following conclusions. First-timers that I had never seen but I really liked were Overlord, the original and the newest Halloween, and The Thing. Number 2, apparently Close Encounters of the Third Kind isn't a horror movie. I recall hearing it was the scariest alien invasion movie, and I was duped. Yeah, Carrie, Close Encounters doesn't count for Scare-a-thon. Sorry. But that's funny. Number 3, my favorite horror films remain the 2 Conjuring films, as well as the It films. Number 4, the Scare-a-thon was an excuse for me to finally see movies that I knew about since I was a teenager but never got around to, like Species, Fire in the Sky, and the Tales from the Crypt movies. Number 5, horror comedies don't really work for me. There's a mismatch in tone that I can't quite reconcile, and neither do satanic ritual movies. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts or responses. Overall, I really enjoyed participating, and I've already got a list going for next year. All the best, Carrie Vandenberg. Thanks, Carrie. I mean, first of all, congratulations on your first Scare-a-thon. Like, that's a big deal. And if I remember correctly, I feel like, Brendan, you weren't really a Scare-a-thon guy until you joined the Real Fans.
That is correct. I did my first one, I think it might have been 2017. That sounds about right. It's now one of my favorite times of the year as far as movies. I absolutely love it, and I've gone from being like a really selective horror guy to, I mean, I think I was in the 70s with my total for this year. And I absolutely love it. I'm discovering new stuff every year. My horizons are getting more broadened every year. I'm still not like a torture porn or body horror fan. That just doesn't do it for me at all. But this year I really got into like haunting movies, because last year I watched the 2 Conjurings and stuff for the first time, and he's spot on. They're so good, those 2 Conjuring movies. I cannot wait for the third. I mean, I actually think the Conjuring universe as a whole is pretty friggin' solid. I'd rate it above some superheroes, connected universe stuff. Welcome to the club. Just keep, expanding your horizons year and year, and it's so much fun. I love it. I would class myself as like a proper horror fan now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. I mean, I definitely agree about the Conjuring universe. It's really damn solid, and I'm glad you love the 2 Conjuring films, because, those are both amazing. But good news, Conjuring 2, you can also watch at Christmas, because it is a Christmas movie. There you go. There's a tip you can use. And I'm glad that the original Halloween still worked on you, because, yes, it's one of my favorite films of all time, and it would have made me very sad if you didn't enjoy it. It's super fun. Broaden your horizons. There's a lot of stuff out there, and welcome to the fold. I always get a little sad the first week of November when Halloween season is over, so I'll just look forward to next year. But very cool, Carrie. Thanks for joining the fun this year. All right, next message is from Chris Salica. It says, hey guys, do you know if the animated stuff from DC Universe is going to move to HBO Max? Nice and short and sweet, Chris. Thank you. I think it is, but I haven't seen a full-on confirmation. But to me, it seems a safe bet that any of the animated content that's on DC Universe will also move to HBO Max.
It'd be foolish not to, let's be honest.
Yeah. So, well, I guess we'll know, like, in, a month-ish? Because I think DC Universe makes the shift. Yeah, you wouldn't.
I don't have access to either, so...
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Well, we'll find out in about a month. All right, next message. I don't know who it's from. It's from The Dark Knight Returns, it says. Okay, it says, hey guys, I know that you've already reviewed the movie and aren't the biggest fans of the show, but the review was forever ago, and the 20th anniversary of Batman Beyond Return of the Joker is this December 12th to be exact. I think you should definitely do something, even if not a full episode. It's one of the best and most overlooked Batman films. If Brendan's never seen it, he definitely should. I honestly don't understand his hate for the show, but to each their own. Also, please be sure to have Jamie on when you review Season 3 Out of the Past. I recently listened to the Real Fans episode for The Greatest Showman, and I had no idea Phil could sing. Sorry for the long email. Keep up the great work. I enjoy listening every week. Best Batman podcast out there, and my favorite podcast, period. Well, thank you, The Dark Knight Returns. I don't know your name. You should sign it so I could say hi. But no, thank you for the message. So, I guess, yeah, the question is Batman Beyond Return of the Joker is almost 20 years old. Brendan, I feel like you have watched it, though.
Yeah. Oh, I own that on... I've owned that for years. Like, I haven't watched it for a while, but I do like it. I even had that on VHS back in the day. It's good. Like, I obviously love the connection to Batman the Animated Series and everything, and it's a solid movie. I do like the movie. It's just the series as a whole. It's just, I don't know, yeah, it's just not my thing. Like that sort of sci-fi, Blade Runner-esque type. It's just not me. Doesn't do anything for me at all.
Yeah, I get it. Cool, but no, I like the idea of doing something for the 20th. I do love that movie, so I'm up for it. Don't know.
I was gonna say, has there been an episode on it? There has, hasn't there?
It was, but it was like in the early days of this show. I want to say it was me, Jamie, and Leroy.
Okay.
It's probably before we even knew you.
Probably. You were probably still playing music underneath the whole episodes.
Oh, God, that was really... that didn't last very long.
That was really early, yeah.
All right, next message is from...
That's not a criticism, by the way. That's just... I just remember the really early episodes had music underneath them.
Yeah. I liked the idea of it, but too many people were like, it's distracting. I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's fair. You try things. Some of it works. Some of it doesn't. All right, next message is from our pal Tom Fallows. He says, hey guys, I love the podcast as always. With Christopher Nolan talking about his Batman movies this week, it got me thinking about Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, which felt like the early adventures of Batman and the beginning of a franchise. So my question is this. Thinking back to The Dark Knight, where did you want the films to go after that, and what villains did you want? Thanks, have fun, and stay safe, Tom Fallows. Thanks, Tom. Okay, Brendan, so let's say there's no Dark Knight Rises, and we were to continue on after The Dark Knight. Where would you want it to go?
I can remember having a really in-depth conversation with my good mate James, right after we'd both seen The Dark Knight, maybe for the second or third time, and we were thinking of it still going along the lines of the organized crime, that kind of thing, and we kept coming back to Black Mask as a villain. I mean, I don't think it wouldn't have happened, I don't think, back then. But then again, I wouldn't have thought Bane would have been the main villain in 2008 for the follow-up either. But yeah, that's just what I jumped to. I can just distinctly remember having that conversation. I know we did sort of talk out where we wanted the story to go. I can't remember it because it was a long time ago, but I just remember we thought a logical villain would have been Black Mask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, my answer won't surprise anyone. Obviously, I wanted to see his version of the Riddler, but I also would have loved to have seen his version of the Penguin, But I agree with kind of what you're saying is I wish it would have continued on, like, immediately after The Dark Knight or a year after The Dark Knight. But, like, one of my biggest issues is, like, we're jumping forward 8 years to his last adventure. And I was like, wait, I feel like we just got there, So yeah, I would have liked to have seen sort of a more traditional continuation where some of these other villains start popping up. And I would have loved to have seen Nolan take on some of those different villains, especially the two I mentioned, Penguin and Riddler. I think would have been awesome. So yeah, would have loved to have seen that.
I agree with that too. Yeah.
All right. Next message is from Bruno. It says, hey, I heard you guys talking about the Joker's different look in the Snyder Cut. I believe it's going to be a flashback to when Batman finds the Joker and beats out his teeth for killing Robin, which is why he has the grill in Suicide Squad. Curious if you think it could be that. Bruno, thanks for the message. What do you think, Brendan? Do you think the Joker could be a flashback?
Yeah. That'd be kind of cool. I'd have no problem with it if they did.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I mean, I wouldn't count on it because that feels so, I don't know, that feels less important to Justice League and more about Batman. So, I don't know. I mean, it's certainly possible. It's another way they could go, and I think it would be cool. I just don't know if that's where they will go. So, it'll be interesting to see. All right, next message is, it's Tanish. It says, hey guys, so Walter Hamada completes 2 years as the president of DC Films in January, so how would you rate his performance? Here's mine. The positives are no studio interference, less leaks, no production drama, releasing of the Snyder Cut, not enacting a vision on a director, letting them go bonkers. Every movie feels and looks different based on the footage we've seen, so they don't feel homogenous. Organizing DC fandom, the Joker movie, and consistent, positive, critical reception to the DC films. Negatives, no movement on a Superman film, Birds of Prey title and marketing and the unnecessary R rating, and then the Flash drama with Ezra Miller and Daly and Goldstein. I'd give him a solid 7 out of 10, and what score would you give him, and what would you like to see improvement? Thanks for all that you do for Bat fans around the globe. My Bat blessings be with you. Long live Holy BatCast. Thanks, Tanishk. All right, Brendan, what do you think? How do you think Walter Hamada has done since taking the reins?
I have not given it a thought, but Tanique makes a lot of good points, and I kind of have to echo what he was saying. Like, everything he was saying, I'm like, yep. And as I was sort of ticking them off before he got to it, I was just like, fandom's a big thing for me. And then as I was thinking it, just fandom. So, I mean, I think the last 18 months, 2 years has been really, really positive given the 3, 4, 5 years prior. So I hope he sort of keeps going on this trajectory. Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I don't have much more to add, Tanishk. I think you did a great wrap up is what I'm saying. Yeah, he's like covered everything.
Good wrap up. Well done, making it easy on us. So mostly I would agree. Yeah, I agree that there's so much less drama since he has taken over, and things are sort of, feel like they're in a good place. I like the redemption of Zack Snyder getting to finish his version of Justice League. I love that. And yeah, I like that each movie seems to have its own personality, and they're taking more creative risks. And this is a big one, and I feel like we've talked about it a lot, is he seems to have really reined in the budgets. And so these movies can be more their own things. So Shazam, Birds of Prey, Joker, all of those were made on very reasonable budgets. And I think that only has helped the success. Definitely agree, though, about Superman. Like, come on, let's get some Superman going. And as for the Flash drama with Daly and Goldstein, I'm kind of indifferent to that. I always thought they were kind of a weird choice. I was willing to go with it and see what they brought to the table, but they were never the choice where I was like, oh, hell yeah, Daly and Goldstein. So like, that one I don't feel strongly about either way. But overall, I think Hamada did a great job. So yeah, I agree. All right, next message is from Marcio Juarez, one of our new patrons. Marcio, hey, he says, hey guys, happy holidays and especially a happy Thanksgiving to Brendan.
Thank you.
Yeah, they love Thanksgiving in Australia, but instead of a turkey, it's a koala.
There we go. I knew there was a stereotype coming.
I mean, whatever. Anyway, he says, with Christmas coming up and being a well-known Batman fan makes us easy to buy presents for, so what is the most random Batman gift you've ever received? Like Batman shampoo or a Batman comb? Some I still use now is a Batman bottle opener and a Batroom poster in my bathroom. Keep up the great work, Marcio. Thank you, Marcio. Okay, this is a fun question. I wish I'd have thought more about it, but I love the question. So the most random Batman gift you've ever received, Brendan?
You sort of sometimes have to say to people, like, just because it's got a bat logo on it doesn't necessarily mean that I want it or need it. I don't know, like, the one thing that jumped to mind, like, when you first posed the question, and I don't know if it's just because it's been within the last 12 months or not, for my birthday, I had someone give me a Batman egg cup, like, you know, to eat boiled eggs out of, with like a little, almost like a cookie cutter thing, but it was to cut Bat logo shaped pieces of toast to have with the boiled egg. I hate boiled egg.
Oh, okay.
Like I'm not an egg fan at all, really. I don't like eggs. So I mean, it's not really random in it's the way that, like, a lot of people like that sort of stuff, and I guess they just thought, well, you know, Brandon likes Batman and he eats breakfast, so here's a Batman egg cup and toast set. But I found it really odd, and I've never used it. So that's all I can really think of at the moment, because I'm trying to think back of like 30 plus years of fandom. Yeah, so I'm going to say the egg cup for now.
All right. That's pretty good. That's pretty random. I think you did okay.
Okay.
It's a great question, and I do want to think about it, because the one that comes to mind, and I think it's because you mentioned it in your email, is you said Batman shampoo. So I received like a set that was like Batman lotion, Joker shampoo, and then I want to say it was like body wash it was like a 3 thing, but I can't remember who was on the body wash. Like, it was Batman, Joker, and there was a third, and it could have been, it wasn't Robin, so it might have been like Catwoman. But yeah, it was like a 3 set of like shampoo, body wash, lotion, and it was all Batman themed. And that was from my ex's aunt. And it's certainly not something I needed, but I thought it was fun and I liked it and I used it. So that's what came.
What do you use the lotion for?
Whatever. Actually, I used the lotion with another random bat gift I got. I also received a Batman dildo, and
okay.
And it was actually a really good one. Like, so, I mean, thank you. Like, it was really nice.
You gotta watch out for those. You gotta watch out for those fins.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's true. But no. So yeah, I did think of that. And then funnily, she also again, my ex aunt, I guess you could call her, ex aunt by marriage. She also got me like like those little bathroom bags that like you can put your stuff in when you travel.
Yeah, like a toiletry bag.
Yeah, like a toiletry bag. She got me a Batman one of those, and it's like the best toiletry bag ever, and I still use it, and I love it, so there's that too.
I'd use the shit out of a Batman toiletry bag.
Oh, it's great. It's great, and it looks so cool, and to the point where the one she got me, like, it eventually saw too much wear and tear, and it broke, and I was like, then I actually went on eBay and found another one because I liked it so much.
Oh, nice. I guess sort of along the same lines is you can only have so many Batman mugs and cups and stuff. Like,
disagree.
That's always seems to be okay. It always seems to be a go-to as well, of just like, oh, well, it's Brendan's birthday or Christmas or whatever. Like, oh, there's a mug. It's got a Bat logo on it. That'll do. And it sort of gets to the point where it's like, okay, but like, you've been to my house, you've seen my cupboards. I have so many Batman mugs and cups and glasses and everything. It's like, I don't need any more. It's like the physical equivalent of like people tagging you and like Batman memes and stuff, and it's like, like the the Bat fan and stuff like that. It's like, guys, I've been getting tagged in these memes for like 5 like I get it. Please stop tagging me in this stuff. And you'd get the same with all the memes and everything, like people tagging you and everything. It's like, I appreciate that you associate me with Batman, but Christ, I can only see this meme so many times.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, mostly I appreciate the thought, but yeah, I mean, yeah, usually it's stuff like, oh yeah, I've seen that, but I'm just glad someone thought of me. All right, I know that like I'll think of something later and go, oh yeah, that was super random, but that's what I got for you now.
Yeah, me too.
All right, next message is from, it's James Mullins. Hey, James. He says, hey, Andy, probably Brendan, maybe Jamie, and Shot in the Dark, Jeremy Lloyd or Kevin Kerrigan. He said, save this email for an episode where one of those last two are on and I'll look like a genius. Sorry, James, I can't do that, but I do love those guys. He says, you guys have a positive outlook on the show, which makes it a joy to listen to. While I've fallen away from other pods that have taken a more consistently negative stance, I've continued to listen to Holy BatCast because you guys would rather shine a light than curse the darkness. That said, I can't think of an instance where you guys have reviewed something and given an F. So here's a challenge. Pitch the listeners an original concept for a Batman movie that you would rate an F. Butcher the Bat. Also, any chance of getting a review of Season 2 of The Telltale Game? Or if I missed it, was there an episode? All the best from Texas, James Mullins. Thanks, James! I totally meant to do Season 2 of Telltale, but I never got around to it. So, never say never, but I never got around to playing through it. So I'd have to do that. But I loved the first one. I just never got around to the second one. Okay, so pitch a Batman movie, Brendan, that you would give an F, that you would hate so much that you would give it an F. That's hard. It's creative, but it's hard.
I was going to say, it's not even really a cheat, but I think the one that... the Batman Year One movie that they were floating around for a while that never got made, where he was like a street rat and Alfred was Big Al.
Yeah.
I would have given that an F. Like it just sounded horrible from beginning to end. Absolutely horrible. I don't know, like, it's got to be really, really bad. Because, I mean, even Batman and Robin, I don't think I'd give an F. Like, I'd give it like a D-, but... It's actually harder than you think.
Yeah, I know. Because you're right. Like, one of the worst movies ever made is Batman and Robin, and I don't think I'd give it an F. I'd give it a D, but I wouldn't give it an F.
Maybe something if it was really out, like sort of Grant Morrison out there. The type of stuff that just doesn't work for me, like the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh. Yeah, like something like that. If it was like that kind of Batman in an alternate dimension, or I don't know. But even then, that's really hard. But I'm just going to say that Batman Year One movie they were talking about making, because that sounded friggin' horrible.
All right. I mean, my mind kind of went to a similar place where it's like, well, what about a Batman movie that's just about Bruce Wayne, and he never actually suits up as Batman, and he just wears a black hoodie, and like he uses a baseball bat, and that's why they call him Batman, and he just drives a black Camry instead of a Batmobile. And so it's like, it's the most like deconstructed version of Batman you could ever imagine, where there's no bat cave, there's no suit, there's no cape. It's like, it's like just implications of that. I'd be like, oh, F you, this is not what I want to see, which that Year One is almost like that,
Yeah, where it's so far removed from the character, that resembles anything of the character that we love. Because, I mean, like, even something like Batman and Robin, it's a pile of shit, but it's still it's still, you know, a faithful adaptation of a period of Batman comics. Like,
Yeah.
you got to give it credit for that. Like, it's not what anyone wanted, and it's a really bad adaptation, but it's still a faithful one.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I'd go with that, but that's kind of cheating because it's essentially Batman that's not Batman. But yeah, like something that like so turns its back on the comic book superhero aspect of Batman, and they just want it to be so real that he never actually puts on a bat costume. I'd be like, oh F you, like I have no interest in this.
Yeah.
So something like that. But if you wanted something that's a more traditional Batman movie, like honestly, my brain goes to that, and we've talked about it briefly in the past, is that All-Star Batman and Robin,
Oh, yeah.
where Batman is just a raging a-hole, but like that's not the point of the story. Where he's just a raging a-hole, like because Frank Miller just thought that was fun. But like I want to say he literally like backhands Robin at a certain point and calls him a spoiled brat.
He full on kidnaps Robin, and like, doesn't he have him in the Batcave and he's like eating rats or something?
Yeah,
like, it's a mess up
it's
story.
horrible. Where I'm like, if it's that, like if it's a-hole Batman, but like not about how he shouldn't be an a-hole anymore, I'd be like, because like, you know, again, you could say like Batman v Superman. Batman is kind of a-hole Batman, but that's the whole point of the movie, is that he's a Batman who's lost his way, like, and the whole movie's about
And
bringing him
redeeming
back.
himself.
Yeah, like that's the whole point of the movie. But if it was like a-hole Batman just to be cool and edgy, I'd be like, oh, hell with this. Like, probably that.
I would agree, but if the movie were to include the scene where they do everything yellow to screw over Green Lantern, I'd give it a pass, because that part was awesome in the comic.
Well, okay. All right. Good question, James. Tricky, but good. All right, next message is from Isaiah. It says, hey, I'm just starting a comic book podcast, and of course, I'm having one of those first-time jitters. You guys have been an inspiration to me for the longest time in my comic-loving and podcasting pursuit, and I want to know if you have any advice in starting a podcast, such as how do I get people to listen, and how do I keep them there? What should a comic podcast incorporate? Things like that, and any advice you could share would be helpful. Isaiah. Man, like if I could tell you how to get people to listen, I'd have more people listen to this show. You know, maybe. Okay, but I mean, first of all, congrats. Like, I mean, and the secret is to just do it, which it sounds like you are. Like, just do it. That's great. You can do it. You'll figure it out. You'll make mistakes along the way, like playing music under the whole episode. And then you'll learn and you'll get better. But I mean, my advice is yes, just start doing it, because practice makes perfect and you'll just get better the more you do it. I'd say put it out there. You know, I always say in your episode titles, make the episode title something easily searchable. Because when I started Real Fans, I tried to come up with all these cute and clever titles, and at a certain point I was like, why don't I just call it the name of the movie? Because nobody is going to search for my cute and clever wordplay. They're going to search for Jurassic Park or Batman. Like, that's what people search for when they're looking for podcasts to listen to, because that's how I have found other podcasts. You know, one of Brendan and I's favorite podcasts, free plug guys, is Hey Do You Remember? We love those guys. Great show. The reason I found that show is because I wanted to hear shows about Twister, one of my favorite movies. And so I literally just searched Twister, and that was one that came up, along with a bunch of other ones that did episodes on Twister. And I listened to a bunch of Twister episodes, but I was like, ooh, I really like them. I'm going to listen to more of them. So make the title something searchable, especially something like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, because people search for that stuff. Have on guests, because the more people you get on their show, they will share it. And then, you know, there's crossover possibilities. I would just say be respectful about crossing over. Whereas, you know, if they invite you on their show, invite them on your show, you know, tit for tat. You know, some people just want to use you for exposure, but don't want to return the favor. I don't know. I'm not talking about anyone specific. I totally am. But Yeah, like that's a great way to do it, is to get other podcasters who have similar interests, bring them on the show, because then they'll be able to share your episode as well, and then people will find you. Because and then you also make awesome friends that way, like this guy, I've got on the other line here, like.
Yeah, I'm sort of in a unique situation here because sorry, what was the listener's name?
Isaiah.
Isaiah. Sorry, Isaiah. I'm started in the same position as you. Like, I was the guy listening who was a huge fan of the show, who got inspiration from Andy and Jamie and, like Sean Gerber and people like that. And I literally just bit the bullet and thought I would love to have my own podcast as well. I did it. I taught myself everything. Like, I knew nothing about how to produce a podcast at all. And I took my time. Like, it was a couple of months before I felt that I was good enough to start making a product. And then when I did, I'd chosen the wrong co-host. And we were only 2 episodes in and the whole show fell apart. Like, I thought it was done and dusted. And then within a week, the Nightlight came about. And then sort of through doing that, and I wasn't trying to do any networking. I wasn't asking for guests because at that stage Steve was still involved, so the show was a two-hander. We sort of didn't really, it wasn't that format of show, but it was just through doing that Andy reached out to me one day and I came on Holy BatCast and we sort of hit it off. We were kind of, social media friends a little bit before that, but when I sort of came on the show, it really broke the ice, and we just sort of got, we talked more and more and got closer and closer, and I've always said I don't know. I'm very, very thankful that I've become a huge part of a show that I absolutely loved. And podcast, like the actual podcast or podcasts aside, I've made some amazing friends through just, networking and meeting people and this whole podcasting world. And, that then led to being part of the Real Fans group and stuff like that. And I talk to people on the other side of the world more than I do friends in my own city these days. Like, and I mean, it's, not wanting to blow smoke up the guy's ass, but I would consider Andy as one of my best friends in the world. And he and I have never been in the same room together. And God knows when it's going to happen, with the world the way it is at the moment. But just, yeah, man, honestly, just do it. Like, and do it your way. Don't overthink it either. Like, I used to early on, like, I would edit like crazy. Like, any little pause or like breath or something, like I would edit for hours and hours and hours, and in the end I was just like, this is driving me insane. Like, no one cares if there was like a little, if the there was a little sound pop there, or like there was a bit of a longer time to answer this question here. Like, don't overthink it, just, and have fun with it. Because it's a hobby, and it's got to be something you love. So just do it for you. I mean, yeah, it's great to have listeners. Andy said if he knew how to get listeners, he'd have more listeners on Holy BatCast. I'm telling you now, the Nightlight wouldn't get, I don't know, 1/10 of the downloads that Holy BatCast does. But I don't care. Like, the Nightlight is my little project. It's my little tiny fish in the massive ocean of podcasts that are out there. And I don't even do it that much anymore, because, I mean, essentially because I don't have the time, but I'm just such a part of Holy BatCast now. Like, that's where I get my creative itch scratched, is by jumping on with Andy and Jamie and whoever every other week. But I still like having my show for me. I don't care if 3 people listen. It's still something that I can put out there and go, I made that. I did it. I jump on BatCast and I'm just just a voice. I don't have anything to do with the technical side of it. Whereas my own show, it's something I produce from beginning to end, and I'm always proud of it. But I do it for me. I don't do it for listeners or downloads or whatever else. But what my little show led to, which is friendship with people, is I will always be grateful for that.
Agreed. All around. Yeah. I mean, do it because you love it. Do it with the people that, you know, that you enjoy talking to. Like, how many times on this show or on one of the Real Fans shows or something, like, we say it, I was like, we'd be having this conversation anyway. We're just happening to be recording it. So, yeah, just have fun with it. And it's just a great outlet. And yeah, you never know. Like, you meet great people and make great friends. And I agree. Brendan's one of my best friends now. Don't let it go to your head.
Shucks.
But yeah, I mean, and you'll get the hang of it. And just do it for fun. It's great. And whenever you start at Isaiah, write again. Let us know, and I'll give you a free plug. How about that? How do you like them apples?
It's more than you did for me in the Nightlight, so there you go.
Well, I want my listeners to listen to quality programs.
And this is the friendship I'm talking about.
Not that garbage in another language. They can only hear how great Batman Forever is so many times before it's like they need something
there
new.
we go.
They need something new. All right, next message is from Condor Zalander. It says, "Hey guys, happy Thanksgiving. Would you like to see Zendaya play Batgirl / Barbara Gordon in Matt Reeves' Batman trilogy?" Condor, thanks for the message. I mean, yes. I know it's a kind of an easy choice especially because, you know, we have Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon, but I mean, a perfect choice is a perfect choice, and I think she'd be awesome. What do you think, Brendan?
Yeah, I know. I totally agree, and she's the right age for it too.
Yeah, totally.
You know, I think that the gap between her and Pattinson, the age, you know, that she is compared to Jeffrey Wright, like, yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Done. Don't need to look any further.
Agreed. All right, next message is from Ruby D. It says, "Hey, Bat family, happy Thanksgiving. Is it possible that Margot Robbie could play Harley Quinn in a cameo in the Snyder Cut? Also, do you know about James Cameron's Spider-Man movie that was supposed to be in 1994 with Leo DiCaprio as Spider-Man, Schwarzenegger as Doc Ock, Michael Biehn as Sandman, and Robin Lively as MJ? Would you have wanted to see this?" Thanks, Ruby. So what do you think, Brendan? A Harley Quinn cameo in the Snyder Cut?
I mean, yeah, anything's possible. He's in that universe, so yes.
I mean, if Jared Leto's Joker can show up, why not Harley Quinn?
Yeah, exactly.
And then James Cameron's Spider-Man. What do you think?
I do remember hearing about that. I mean, I'm sure it would have been a big hit, but I think 2002 Spider-Man, like, it was the right movie at the right moment. So I'm kind of glad that it didn't happen. But yeah, I'm sure I would have checked it out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I love the 2002 Sam Raimi Spider-Man. I think it's amazing. So, no pun intended. But yeah, like, do I think James Cameron could have made an amazing Spider-Man movie? Oh, hell yeah. I think it would have been awesome. And Schwarzenegger as Doc Ock could have been totally rad. Like, you know, that's one where I think he would have been really good, especially working with his buddy James Cameron. So yeah, that's always one of those what ifs. If James Cameron had made a Spider-Man movie, what would that have been like? Because I'm a huge James Cameron fan. I like the stuff he does, and yeah, I think he had a great Spider-Man movie in him. It just didn't work out. All right, next message is from David Wang. It says, "Hey guys, first I wanted to wish everyone a happy American Thanksgiving and an early Merry Christmas. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the Batman Beyond episode Zeta, seeing that this would be the spin-off point for the Zeta Project, possibly the most obscure DC series ever. Also, this is funny, we get this a lot, another reminder that Jamie should be present for the episode when you review Out of the Past. Got it. Noted." He says, I hope you'll have a great time for the remainder of your time in China, Andy. Just a couple tidbits I learned from Beijing. Number one, the museums and art galleries are awesome. Two, I don't know about comic stores, but if you ever visit the Wangfujing region, there are some mega-sized bookstores, and I recall them having Western comic books. The McDonald's at Wafujing is the biggest one in all of China, and for some years, the biggest one in the whole world. I hope you get to visit it. Best wishes, David. Thanks, David. I've got to look if I've been to Wangfujing. I recognize the name, so I may have gone there, but I've gone to many places since I've been in China, and they all kind of run together. But noted, because mostly I just want to go to the biggest McDonald's. Anyway,
you just stand outside watching people eat their burgers like a little homeless boy.
Yes, darn right. Anyway, so yeah, I guess the question is about Batman Beyond Zeta, but we have not gotten to it yet. So when we do, we will.
Well, I've
talk
watched
about
it.
Oh, is that the next one?
That's the next one.
Oh crap! Well, darn it. Guess I should have saved that email. Well, David, tune in next time when we do review it. All right, thanks for the message. Next message is from Noah. It says, hey, Holy BatCast, it's my first time writing, so I'll keep it short. If you could have the Bat Family in a parody of any sitcom, which would it be? Thanks. Noah, well, thank you for writing in for the first time. That's something that does blow my mind. I think I've said it before. I'm like, this show's been going on since 2014. So I just assume that anyone who listens, like anyone who's going to listen has already found us, and that's it. So whenever somebody finds us for the first time or writes in for the first time, I'm like, oh, really? New people? Can we have new people? I love it. Okay, so the Bat Family in a parody of a sitcom, Brendan. What do you think?
Oh, man.
It's another creative question, but it also takes some thought.
I'm trying to think of a way to make it work for the Golden Girls.
There is a DC Golden Girls parody.
That Super Friends intro.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
I love it. I'm into it. Oh man, that's a great choice. My brain went to the Brady Bunch just because it's one of my favorite sitcoms. But I don't know how I would cast it,
No.
That would be the tricky part because there's kids and would it be kid versions of the heroes? Maybe that could be kind of fun, Batman could be Greg, Aquaman could be Peter, and Robin could be Bobby, Superman could be Dad, could be Mike Brady. That could be fun.
I've got a weird one too where kind of Cheers, but it's the Batcave because there's so many members of the Bat Family, and Alfred's sort of the main bartender.
That's true. He did say Bat Family. He didn't say DC. So that's my bad. I already went to DC. Bat Family. Oh, I could see that. Bat Family Cheers.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I still reckon because you'd have if we would go Golden Girls, Batman would be Dorothy.
Right.
I'm just trying to think. Dick would be Blanche.
Oh yeah. Alfred would be Sophia. So that leaves Jason.
Leslie Tompkins.
So Jason could be oh my god, why am I blanking? Betty White.
Rose.
Or Barbara could be Rose. Commissioner Gordon could be Rose.
Barbara can be Rose, and Damien can be Stan. Every time he rocks up, people are just ugh.
Yeah. Hi, it's me, Damien. Ugh.
We've done it.
All right, perfect. I like it. I'm into it.
Now we're going to get emails for the next 3 months of going, oh, when you were casting the Golden Girls, why didn't you think of this?
How could you not say blank? Yeah. All right, next message is from Jake. It says, hey guys, hope you're doing well. First, Andy, congrats on your engagement. That's awesome. Cheers to many years of creating amazing memories. During the Three Jokers episode, you mentioned that Johns and Fabok were discussing a sequel. I'd be okay with that because overall I enjoyed it, and you were right about Fabok's artwork, some of the best in the business. My question is, which Batman stories would you have liked to get a sequel to, or the flip, which sequels did you not want to happen? Thanks for the entertainment during all the insanity of this world. You guys rock, Jake. Thank you, Jake. I appreciate that. Okay, so a Batman story you'd like to have a sequel, or a sequel that you wish hadn't happened. Brendan?
I remember Hush Returns being a bit crap.
Okay.
So I could probably do without that.
Dark Knight Strikes Again is straight up garbage.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Actually.
Oh, man. Whew.
I couldn't even get through it.
Oh,
I didn't even think of that one. But
I
yeah.
literally was like, this can't be as bad as its reputation. There's no way. And I read it and I was like, touche. Yes, it can.
It's the ones that always had a sequel is difficult because I'm currently getting a sequel / continuation to my favorite comics. So,
With The Adventures Continue?
Yeah, I'm sort of looking at my shelf to see what I can think of.
Well, I'm excited they announced another volume of Batman Earth 1.
Yes, you know what? I was just thinking that too. Just as you said, I'm excited. I straight went, Earth 1.
Those first two books were great, and I'm glad we're getting a third one. But I'm trying to think of something that did not get a sequel.
Between them is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's true. I'm trying to think of something that did not get a sequel that I would like a sequel for. Batman Noel, where instead of a Christmas Carol, it's like another twist on another famous Christmas story of some sort.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool. I'd be down for that. Like maybe It's a Wonderful Life or something.
Yeah, exactly. Batman's It's a Wonderful Life. Totally. I'd be into that.
Yeah. Can I just agree with you? Because that's an awesome idea.
I mean, and we are in the Christmas spirit.
We are.
Well, there you go. There's a choice for you. All right. Thanks, Jake. And thank you for the congratulations on my engagement. I appreciate it. I will pass it on to Catherine. All right. Next message from our pal Stuart from Guernsey. It says, hey, this message is regarding streaming in the UK, as Brendan asked. To be honest, we don't have anything special that has anything with superhero content other than Netflix, Prime, or Disney+. For shows that are on DC Universe, Titans is on Netflix, Stargirl and Swamp Thing are on Prime, Doom Patrol is on an add-on channel on Prime, and Young Justice can only be purchased on Prime. I think the show that Brendan mentioned that was on Binge that stars Anna Kendrick is free on our BBC app. It's all a bit weird how everything is thrown around. We don't have many more options for streaming at the moment, not as in ones that cater to all that we're into. I have no idea what they will do with Justice League once it hits. It could end up anywhere, judging by how we get all the other shows. Anyway, I hope it gives you a better idea of how it works in the UK. Hope you're doing well, Stuart. Thanks, Stuart. Yeah, that's interesting. So all the content is somehow accessible, but it's sort of just randomly strewn about all the existing services. I mean, honestly, that's kind of nice because then you're not paying for another service.
Yeah, that's true. But then you're paying for add-on stuff as well.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah, keep us posted. Let us know where Zack Snyder's Justice League ends up, or Wonder Woman 1984, if anywhere.
Because they are, that was actually something that came out during the week. They are exploring options for Wonder Woman for Europe and the UK.
Okay. Cool.
I didn't read into it too much, but they have to because they're not far behind America in terms of things being really bad. So
yeah. All right. Next message is Elder Murray. It says, hey guys, I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. This is what happens when we skip a week. Says, I've got an interesting fact for you. Originally, the song Original Sin by Taylor Dane, which was on the soundtrack to the movie of The Shadow with Alec Baldwin, was supposed to be on the Batman Forever soundtrack. How different would that soundtrack be if that song was included, and how cool would it have been to have another single along with Kiss from a Rose? Elder, thanks for the message. Interesting. I didn't know that. I really like that song, though. I think it's a really cool song, and I mean,
I can't place it.
yeah. I mean, The Shadow isn't. It's more of a cult classic than anything, so it makes sense that you wouldn't know it right off the bat. But it's a very cool kind of loungy, classic, almost noir-y type song. You know, the kind you would hear in like a smoky bar with a singer up front. You know, like it's very cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I mean, the Batman Forever soundtrack was already super cool, but I would have liked something a little more retro themed like this. I think it would just have added to it. So yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah, I don't think it would have been too different because it was a bit of an eclectic album anyway, but it just would have had that song on it, I guess.
Right. You could have lost the Riddler song, which is not a good song.
Yeah. I mean, again, it always seems to happen. You know, how he said, you know, it'd be great to have another single apart from Kiss from a Rose. We did, and it was the best single off the album, which was U2's Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me.
Right. All right, next message is from Weston Craig. It says, hey guys, I know nothing about creating podcasts, so how long does it normally take you to create an episode of Holy BatCast, including recording, editing, and posting? Do you ever mess up and have to re-record something? Also, I don't know what I want for Christmas, so what DC-related things are you asking for this year? Thanks, West. Thank you, West. Well, funny, we're talking about making podcasts this episode. So, like Brendan said, I did the same thing when I started, is I would meticulously edit every episode, and it would take hours. And then I realized my time is too valuable, and people generally don't care. So I don't do that anymore. So what I do is, how long does it take? I mean, if there's any prep work, like reading or watching a movie or something, you have to add that time in. So depending on how long it takes to read a comic or read a graphic novel or watch a movie or whatever, it's however long that is. Recording the episode, it's about what you'll end up with, you know. So if it's a 2-hour episode, it probably takes about 2 hours to record, not counting our, you know, kind of chatting before we start recording and chatting after. So you can usually add a good half an hour on for that. Editing, I now usually edit in less than an hour. What I do is now, like any major editing things, I just keep a little pad of paper and I write down. And someone called me out on it recently, where they said I miss when Brendan swears, and then I hear Andy's pen scratching, writing down the time.
Yeah, you're the one who drops it these days. I'm well behaved, thank you very much.
I mean, I dropped the C word, but you still drop the F-bomb way more than I ever do.
No, I try and
sometimes multiple times in an episode.
I haven't said it this episode.
You did. You did.
Not out loud. I edited.
Well,
like
you
I
sort of somewhat edit yourself, but not really.
Okay.
But anyway, so yeah, I just, anything that I have to edit out, I just keep track of so I can edit the episode in, like I said, an hour or less. Then posting it, if I was in the United States, posting it takes 10 minutes, but I'm in China, so it usually takes an hour for it to upload because the internet's just slower. But I can do other things while it's uploading, so there you go. So length of the episode, give it an hour for editing, another hour for uploading, so usually about 4 hours. How about that?
There you go.
Do you ever mess up and have to re-record? I mean, yeah, sometimes I'll get mush mouth or misspeak or something, and I have to fix a little thing. But as far as like a whole episode, that has happened in the past, but it's been a while, knock wood, like that. I haven't had to do that in a while.
There was an episode, wasn't too long ago, it was a couple of months ago now. Was it one we had with Eric on it? Was it maybe the Batman Day episode? Remember, like, your internet or something was being really messed up, and we had to like stop and like reconnect the call several times and sort of skip back, 10 minutes in conversation and everything. That to my memory, is the most tech issues we've ever had in an episode of Holy BatCast was that one.
That's true. Yeah. That was, oh God, that was so frustrating. It was such a pain in the ass.
I'm sure it was the Batman Day episode when I think about it.
Yeah. Anyway, any DC items on your Christmas list, Brendan?
I mean, anything awesome? I don't really have any specifics.
I want a Superman dildo to go with my Batman dildo.
It glows in the dark, right?
Then there's a kryptonite one.
I know I did ask for the hardcover trade of Batman 3 Jokers. But yeah, I mean, I can't. There's not really anything other than that specific that I can think of, because there's not really anything that's. Actually, no. I tell a lie. The Christmas DC Funko Pops.
Yeah.
I have asked for as well.
Yes.
So those two things.
Yeah, I mean, me too, but those I bought for myself, so yeah.
Twice.
Well, so a couple episodes ago I complained about how, like, they were supposed to come to China, they didn't come to China, I was heartbroken. So I checked essentially there's like a Chinese version of Amazon, it's called Taobao, and I was able to find them on there, and I was like, well, it would be silly to buy them all again. Because then I have a whole set just sitting in the United States. So what I did buy Batman and Joker, so I at least had those here, which means I have an extra Batman and Joker back in the States, but it'll be very easy to re-gift those to someone I love. So, but I will say there are two things on my wish list that are DC related that are really awesome. So I want to say it's Diamond Select. They've been doing DC statues, but their statues are like incredibly affordable. They're usually about $50 or less. And they did one of Batman 89, and it's Batman, and he's like standing on the globe from the city hall of the movie. And it's really cool.
Yeah.
And then they also did a Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman that was really awesome too. And so I put both of those on my list. Don't know if I'll get them, but they're really awesome. But honestly, guys, if you love like DC collectibles, look at what Diamond's doing. Their statues are so cool. And again, they're usually $50, which for collectibles like that is a great deal. They did that awesome Tim Drake that I bought earlier this year as well.
Yeah, no, I've seen a few of their things. They're pretty good.
Yeah, they're really good, and especially for the price. So, yeah. All right, next message is from Horace McNichol. It says, hey guys, happy holidays. Was the Green Arrow role in Smallville supposed to be Batman? Horace, thanks for the message. I remember hearing that rumor is that they wanted to do Batman, but they weren't allowed, so they made it Green Arrow. I certainly think it's possible and even plausible. I just don't know if that's ever been confirmed. Brendan, do you have any idea?
It would make sense, but I can't recall ever hearing it.
I remember hearing it, and again, if you watch the show, it makes sense. Like Oliver Queen, billionaire, comes in and everything. So like I get why, but yeah, I just don't know if they ever confirmed that. All right, next message is from our pal Mohammed. It says, hey guys, I hope you're doing well, and congrats to Andy on his engagement. And I'll just say, and guys, congrats to Brendan on a baby. Anyway, he says, I'm writing after a long...
On my pregnancy.
On your pregnancy. He says, I'm writing after a long time, but I thoroughly enjoy the show. I recently visited a local mall, and I saw an item that was a blast from the past. It was a Batman arcade machine released by Raw Thrills in 2013. I've attached a photo. Have you guys ever played it? Sorry for the random email. I'll think of another fun question next time. Take care. Have a great time. And then he sent a link that is his early Christmas gift to me. So I'm going to have to see what that link is. So anyway, it's the Batmobile arcade game, Brendan. Have you ever seen it?
I think so, yes.
It is awesome.
I've never played it, but I do remember it being a thing. And I know there was an arcade in Brisbane that had it, or maybe still has it. I don't know, but I never sort of got there.
Mm-hmm. It's awesome. I love it. And, well, because you could pick, like, not any Batmobile, but many of the most famous Batmobiles. So, you know, it has the 66 Batmobile. It, of course, has the Burton Batmobile. Ironically, I can't remember which of the Schumacher Batmobiles it had, or maybe it had both. I'd have to check. But it had the Tumbler. It had the animated series Batmobile. And, yeah, you could just choose your favorite Batmobile and then, yeah, drive around Gotham fighting villains. It was so fun. And I wish they would release it for home play somehow, like on a console, as a download, as an app. I don't care, because I would pay for it because it was so awesome. So yes, the answer is yes, I played it. Yes, I loved it. And I wish I could. Yeah, someone maybe has created an emulator, but yeah, I would love to pay for it to own it. I'm sure you could YouTube it, Brendan.
Yeah. I am familiar with the one. It does sound cool. Like, it would be something that, if, you know, again, me not a gamer, but that's something I would play.
Well, it's the perfect game for non-gamers, because you literally...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you play for 10 minutes in a Batmobile driving around Gotham, and then you turn it off. You're good. All right, one last email, and then we'll get out of here. It's from our pal Mark Bickford. It says, hey, guys. I like it. It says, hi, Andy, Jamie, the patron of the week, and that one guy in Brisbane who's just waiting to hear those fateful words. You know what? You'd look great in that new spare room. You know what would look great in that new spare room? A crib.
Wow. He was onto it.
Yeah. He says, so with DC Universe about to undergo the least welcome transformation since the arrival of the Sixth Doctor, I'll ask you, what will you miss? Is there anything you wanted to see but you didn't get a chance to? For me, I'm still wondering if I should have watched Young Justice, but I've got to imagine that with season 4 coming, that'll be on HBOMax. But he said HBOM, pronounced H-bomb. Nice. He says, I always look wistfully at the Super Friends episodes that I never got around to. What are your thoughts on the video section shutting down? Also, what did you think of DC Daily? Did you watch it? For me, it was a nice addition to the end of the day. I pretty much watched it religiously, even with all the changes it went through, even before COVID, when it largely stopped covering anything that could be called news. Looking forward to your thoughts, and Merry Christmas, Mark. Thanks, Mark. Great question. I mean, Brendan, DC Universe, not really your problem.
You'll have to take this one. So
yeah.
I will say that I always loved the idea of DC Daily, and I wished I would have been able to watch it.
So I mean, this kind of goes to what another listener asked us earlier, is like, how much of this will move over to HBO Max? I hope all, or at least most of it, because there was a lot of shows on there that I meant to get to and I didn't. I loved having like Super Friends just readily accessible, and I did put it on now and then just as like a fun background noise. And well, me and Scotty did a couple Super Friends episodes because of DC Universe. But the biggest thing I will miss that better be preserved is the DC Yule log.
Yule log, yeah.
The DC Yule log. But no, like I really hope all those videos just get moved over to HBO Max, because there was so much good stuff on there. I loved all the series. And Mark, you got to watch Young Justice. It's so good.
It is good.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I don't think you'd be disappointed. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what happens again in about a month. As for DC Daily, I never watched it. Just never really grabbed my interest. I guess I should have watched it, but I never really did. I was much more interested in the actual content than the content discussing the content. So, all right. Well, thanks, Mark. And we're going to wrap this thing up. That's it. Closing the mailbox. Thanks to everybody who wrote in. If you've got a message for the Wayne Manor mailbox, you can send that, as always, to Holy BatCast at rf4rm.com. But we're going to call it a night, and we will be back soon enough. But Brendan, thanks as always for staying up this Friday evening to talk about Batman.
My pleasure.
Well, tell everyone where they can find you. But
You can.
Yeah. You know, I was going to say Nightlight,
Yeah.
but you know.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Loey007. You can find my podcast, The Nightlight, on Twitter at NightlightPod, Facebook.com/The Nightlight, or nightlight.podbean.com. I know I have been saying recently that it's on hiatus, and I've been focusing on BatCast just with my timing and everything. However, I did do a new episode last week with friend of this show, Julian Chan. Looking back at 25 years since the release of GoldenEye. And if you keep your eyes peeled on the feed in the next week or two, you might see the annual Christmas special episode recorded with somebody you might be familiar with.
Yeah, what sucker did you rope into that?
Some arsehole.
Oh, jeez.
With nothing better to do.
Yeah. Someone who's got nothing but time to be on the Nightlight.
Yep. What an idiot.
Oh my god, what a stupid. All right. Yes, go check out the Nightlight. Always a pleasure. I liked the GoldenEye episode, even though I don't think I've seen GoldenEye since the theater in 1995.
Oh, wow.
I liked it. I just have never gone back to it. But yeah, it was fun to hear you and Julian chat about it.
Yeah. You're not a Bond guy.
And yeah, though I see everyone in the theater and then never again.
Yeah, you're done. Yeah,
Yep.
that's fair enough.
It's the same relationship I have with Fast and the Furious. A new one comes out, I go see it, I have a good time, and then I forget about it. That's it. But yeah, go check that out. Thank you as always for joining us on this show. Thank you for downloading it. Please do subscribe so you never miss an episode, and please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And as Michael Keaton's Batman says, I want you to tell all your friends about me. Visit holybatcast.com, and again, find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Brendan mentioned the Nightlight, but yeah, we have other fun stuff going on in the Real Fans Network. So we just recently did a crossover with our pal Matt on Two Broke Geeks, where we reviewed the Christmas Chronicles 1 on Two Broke Geeks, and then we reviewed Christmas Chronicles 2 on Real Fans for Real Movies. So if you are in the holiday spirit, you can check those out. We've started our Christmas podcasting, so check that show out. Of course, Disorder, every Disney film, where we are getting very close to the end, and Why Not Futurama, all the shows of the network at RF4RM, as well as, of course, our pals' shows Please Rewind and Grim Gritting Hosts, Hunter's Show. Again, if you got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, you can mail that to holybatcast at rf4rm.com. But that'll do it. On behalf of Brendan and Jamie, who we always keep close in our hearts, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Holy BatCast is brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Remember, the thoughts and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone, and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.